Ashley Benefield's case became a lightning rod for controversy, one that would divide the public, spark debates about justice, and raise questions about the complexity of self-defense in abusive relationships. The circumstances surrounding Doug's death were as mysterious as they were tragic, and the accusations against Ashley were chilling. But the more one looked into the case, the more complicated it became. Ashley claimed that she had been the victim of years of abuse, a woman trapped in a cycle of fear and violence. The defense team called upon expert witnesses to testify about the psychological and emotional toll years of abuse can take on a person. They presented Ashley as someone who was physically and mentally broken by Doug's control, manipulation, and violence. But the prosecution wasn't swayed. They argued that Ashley had meticulously planned Doug's death, citing inconsistencies in her testimony and suggesting that her actions were deliberate. For weeks, the courtroom was filled with tension as both sides presented their cases, hoping to convince the jury of their version of events. How can the law protect those who are trapped in abusive relationships? Can someone truly be blamed for taking a life when they are afraid for their own? They organized rallies, raised awareness, and fought for what they believed was a miscarriage of justice. In their eyes, Ashley wasn't a criminal. She was a woman who had been pushed to the brink, forced to take action in a moment of terror. But the reality of her sentence remained, and the debate about the fairness of her conviction continued to rage. These are questions that continue to be debated, and Ashley's case is at the heart of that discussion. Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and let's continue the conversation. If you'd like to learn more about similar cases and explore the intersection of law, justice, and abuse, check out our next video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications on future content. The 20-year prison sentence would be a heavy burden, but it was also a reminder of the harsh reality that many women in abusive relationships face. It serves as a reminder that the criminal justice system is not always clear-cut, and that the line between self-defense and murder is often more complicated than it appears. Whether you believe Ashley was wrongfully convicted or that justice was served, her story is one that will remain etched in the minds of many for years to come. For Ashley, it wasn't just about the trial or the sentence, it was about the years of pain that had led her to that moment. And as she began serving her sentence, she realized that her story, for better or for worse, would be part of a larger narrative about justice, abuse, and the limits of the legal system. Yet, prosecutors painted a far different picture, suggesting that she had planned her husband's death with a cold, calculated intent. She spoke candidly about the years of abuse she had endured, describing how she had been pushed to the brink of despair. The case was built on legal principles that didn't take into account the emotional and psychological toll that years of abuse can have on a person. And when the verdict came down, many were shocked. That answer will continue to evolve as new information comes to light, and as society grapples with the complexities of justice and abuse. Ashley was convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to 20 years in prison. It was a sentence that seemed to leave no room for nuance, no consideration for the years of suffering she had endured. For many, it was a harsh and unjust outcome. She detailed the fears she lived with every day and how, on that fateful morning, she finally saw no way out. For some, it was a reminder that the justice system often fails to recognize the emotional toll that abuse can have on a person. They argued that Ashley's sentence was too severe, given the circumstances of her marriage and the history of abuse. Others felt that the conviction was a necessary step in ensuring that anyone who takes another life must be held accountable, regardless of the situation. Her words resonated with some who believed her account and saw her as a victim of domestic violence. Others, however, questioned her story, suggesting that there was more to the case than met the eye. The courtroom was divided, and outside it, public opinion was just as split. Some rallied behind Ashley, calling her a hero who had fought back against a man who had tormented her for years. Others saw her as a murderer, someone who had taken a life without cause. With the stakes so high, it was clear that Ashley's case would be one for the history books. At the heart of it all is a 20-year prison sentence that left many asking, was it justice or a tragic misstep in the legal system? Ashley met Doug in her 20s, and for a while, their relationship seemed ordinary, perhaps even ideal. But beneath the surface, things began to unravel. According to Ashley, Doug became increasingly abusive as their marriage progressed. She described a marriage filled with intimidation, manipulation, and escalating violence. Yet to outsiders, everything appeared normal. Doug, a successful businessman, was well-liked, and the couple's social circle never suspected anything was wrong. For Ashley, however, it was a prison one that she had no way out of. To fully understand the layers of this case, we must start from the beginning, diving deep into Ashley's life, the events that unfolded, and the court case that would change her life forever. Ashley claimed that on the morning of the shooting, Doug had once again become violent. In a moment of desperation, she shot him. She said it was an act of self-defense, her last resort to escape a life of abuse that she feared might kill her one day. But the prosecution had a different view. They argued that the act wasn't self-defense, but premeditated murder. The timeline of the shooting they said, didn't fit the defense's narrative. What followed was a complex trial, one that would last for weeks, filled with emotional testimony, contradictory evidence, and a public divided over Ashley's innocence or guilt. In 2019, Ashley Benefield found herself at the center of a murder trial after the death of her husband, Doug Ben. It was a marriage that began with promise, but slowly devolved into something darker. The day of Doug's death was filled with confusion and fear. As the trial unfolded, the evidence painted a troubling picture. One of the most emotional moments came when Ashley took the stand. But no matter how compelling the arguments were, the trial came down to one thing: what the law said. In the aftermath of the sentencing, Ashley's case became a symbol of the complexities of domestic violence, and the case also sparked a larger conversation about the role of self-defense in situations of domestic violence. As the days passed after the sentencing, Ashley's supporters began to question whether the legal system had done enough to protect her. Throughout it all, Ashley's life was changed forever. The legacy of Ashley Benefield's case is still unfolding. As time moves forward, the question remains: was Ashley Benefield a victim of an unjust system, or a woman who made a tragic mistake in a moment of desperation? So, what do you think? Was Ashley's sentence justified, or was she simply another victim of a system that didn't understand her pain?